welcome to Totem Pole Sports. This is your host Lambo. Coach Taylor is probably still in Colorado, nowhere to be found. Meeting Bill Best and Jay Norvell, sharing his experiences in Colorado. Whenever he wants to come back, it doesn't feel like he's a 70-year-old man that is about to die soon. He would come and share his experience of, what happened to Colorado, what is up, GOAT. Thank you for coming into the show tonight. And the man from Seoul is nowhere to be found. So we had to go ahead and start the show because, like I said, I'm going to start the show whether you're here or not. So two old people are not here today. So I am going to run the show, Total Pole Sports. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Total Pole Sports. You get your merch at TotalPoleNation.com. We got discounts everywhere. And, of course, we're sponsored by St. Pete Rejuvenate. And, of course, you get this jacket off the website, right? Totem Pole Nation, we are the number one for sports. We are the number one for entertainment. We'll give you the entertainment. We are better than ESPN and Barstool. All right, let's get started. We got a lot of stuff to talk about in the sports world. Some NFL, some NBA, some WNBA too with Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. You got the WNBA draft heading on Monday. But the first thing that I want to talk about today is NBA. We have the NBA playoffs less than about 12 days away, right? But let's go ahead and start with this. The Chicago Bulls beat the Detroit Pistons, and the Pistons have a franchise record loss, 67 losses. So I think they only have 12 wins or 17 wins and 67 losses. So that's not good for this organization. Ladies and gentlemen, the new coach, Monty Williams. I think he was the head coach of the Phoenix. Thank you, Coach Ball, for coming in. He was the head coach of the Phoenix Suns before he got fired. And then at the end of the day, it kind of is what it is. He's trying to turn around a Detroit program that has not won anything since the early 2000s and 90s when they were the bad boy Pistons. It's just really frustrating. So the Bulls and DeMar DeRozan dropped 39 points tonight. 13 and 67. So that's their record for Detroit. They're 13 and 67. They broke the franchise mark that was set by the 1979-1980 team. Chicago did wrap up home court advantage in the Eastern Conference play-in against Atlanta. Billy Donovan is surfaced to have rumors to take the Kentucky job. But if I'm Billy Donovan, why in the world would you take Kentucky, go back to college when you have an NBA job? So Chicago, with the record of 38 and 42, is going to be a play-in game that gets them to that final seed in the Eastern Conference. The Bulls are finding a way. DeMar DeRozan, Nikola Vucevic, 27 points. You had Jalen Duren at 20 points, 11 rebounds for Detroit. But the Pistons just can't win anything. Cade Cunningham, former number 1 pick, number 2 pick, was out with a knee injury, obviously. But the Pistons it's just sad, and I feel for the coach because I feel like from these owners in the NBA, they just don't give their coaches time to develop a team. And for the Pistons, with Monty Williams signing that contract, it's going to be a long rebuild. They gave him a 5-6 year deal, his hometown, to give him some personal benefits along with that contract. But for the Detroit Pistons, it's going to be a very, 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 very long rebuild. And Cade Cunningham, they're going to need some other pieces. But I'm trying to tell you, when the season is over, the Detroit Pistons are not the place you want to go to free agency. So they're struggling, but they kept fighting. So they played the Mavericks on Friday. And then, of course, you got, the Bulls played Washington on Friday night. So we're about 2-3 games left in the regular season. And then we are on to the playoffs, the play-in and the playoffs. So that is what's going on in the NBA. Next, we're going to talk about the New York Knicks. New York Knicks beat my Boston Celtics. Um, they're trying to get the number 2 seed. So apparently, Brunson dropped 39. Jalen Brunson is a baller, is a hooper. And this was without Julius Randle. Julius Randle is out for the year with a shoulder injury. So this is very impressive. The New York Knicks are trying to make that playoff push. The Boston Celtics are still the number 1 seed, right? They are still the number 1 seed. They're ahead at least by 12, 13 games against Milwaukee. Uh, the Knicks finished with the number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference. They beat the Boston Celtics. They already clinched a playoff spot. They pulled within a game of the Milwaukee Bucks. The Milwaukee Bucks have really been struggling as of lately. The Bucks lost their games to Oklahoma City and Orlando. Milwaukee had a head-to-head tiebreaker, but Jalen Brunson shot 15 and 23. Yeah, Dante DiVincenzo had 17 points. Josh Hart had 16 and 16 rebounds. Jason Tatum, Peyton Pritchard, and Jaylen Brown, Sam Hauser each had 18, 16, and 15 apiece. Am I worried about the Celtics at this point? Not really. The Celtics have already clinched home field advantage throughout the playoffs. The Knicks was up 29. They was up by 29 points. And, of course, Boston Celtics starters were pulled out of the game being down by 29 points at home. So it was going to be an Atlantic Divisional rival sweep, but no, they avoided that. So the Celtics just seem to somewhat struggle, but Jalen Brunson is the heart and soul for the Knicks. But despite of Julius Randle being out for the season, how far do I think the Knicks can go? They could probably win a playoff series here and there. I don't think the Eastern Conference is that strong. I mean, who do you look at? I mean, Milwaukee's struggling. Philadelphia is not really the same team. I mean, I understand they got Joel Embiid back, but we've seen the Philadelphia 76ers choke in the playoffs. But with the injuries like this, Jalen Brunson is going to be the guy that keeps it in. Of course, you always have the Miami Heat in there too, that they don't do good in the regular season, but when it's time for the playoffs, Miami does tighten up. So I think the New York Knicks can win a playoff series. But if the New York Knicks have to face the Miami Heat again, I don't think they'll beat them. But Jalen Brunson is a great scorer. I'm not very disappointed in my Celtics. They already have the number 1 seed, but it's all about momentum heading towards the playoffs. The Knicks will play the Brooklyn Nets on Friday, and the Celtics will host the Charlotte Hornets on Friday as well. 2 games away before the play-in starts and before the regular season ends. Like I said, sports and a lot of things is happening. It's going by pretty quickly. It's going by fast. So Jalen Brunson and the Knicks keeping the number 2 seed. I'm very surprised they caught up because they were at one point at number 4 and number 5. With the injuries, the New York Knicks are still finding a way to make a push. And I'm going to give credit to Tom Thibodeau. Tom Thibodeau has really turned around the Knicks because they hadn't really been much since, the Melo, Amari Stoudemire, Tyson Chandler days. But the New York Knicks have really turned it around. And I'm just very, very impressed of what the New York Knicks are able to do despite all injuries that is happening. Next thing I want to talk about, I want to get into some NFL stuff. Caleb Williams, along 13 prospects, should be drafted overnight. Night 1 of the NFL draft. So, ladies and gentlemen, night 1 of the NFL draft is April 25th. It starts on Thursday. Then you had the second round of the draft, April 26th. Then the second and third rounds is April 26th. So you have 3 days of the NFL draft, in case y'all don't know. So Thursday is round 1 in the draft. So round picks 1 through 32. Second round is Friday after that, 26th. Second and third rounds on second Friday. And then Saturday was the final day of the draft. Final day of the draft, which means they'll have rounds 4 and 7. Rounds 4 and 7, that's a long day. Nobody watches the whole day of the draft for 7 hours to see who gets drafted. That's kind of boring. But the first round and second round and some third rounds of the NFL draft will watch out for. Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams probably would be the number 1 pick. The trade of Justin Fields to the Pittsburgh Steelers, he'll probably be the number 1 pick. either be the number one pick or be the number two pick. Now, Caleb Williams, he's the guy that paints his nails and all that other stuff. I think Caleb Williams is a talented football player. We'll see how he is on the field, how he can develop into a pro style offense. We've seen flashes of what he did with Lincoln Riley at Oklahoma and what he did at USC. So he's probably gonna be the number one pick. But by the way, I wanted to point this out. Coach Prime has said something on Twitter, and I have nothing against him. Now, I don't know if it's Twitter, but just around social media, just the media in general, about how you let certain teams leak the draft, and some teams or just everybody in general already knows the draft board before the draft is even started. So this article means that Caleb Williams is definitely going number one. I mean, you're basically leaking it right now. So you're basically saying Caleb Williams goes number one, Drake May goes number two to Washington, and then New England either is going to get Jaden Daniels or J.J. McCarthy. So we'll see how that goes. The NFL announced 13 prospects confirmed as of Thursday night in the Southeastern Conference. Southeastern schools, Alabama and LSU each had 3 players in the group. The SEC leads all conferences with 7 players in attendance. That includes Missouri defensive line Darius Robinson. All the players involved, Alabama and LSU, is Dallas Turner, J.C. Latham, Terran Arnold, Jaden Daniels, and Malik Neighbors, and Brian Thomas Jr. Chicago Bears, they're going to get Caleb Williams. I mean, there's not really much to say about it. You traded Justin Fields. You got Keenan Allen. You got some wide receiver core that you have. You just need a quarterback. I didn't agree with keeping Matt Eberflus as the head coach. I thought they were going to make some changes along those lines, but that's just not the case as it is right now. So, North Carolina, Drake May is Atlantic Coast Conference player to spend time. To set to a 10, you got Marvin Harrison Jr. and your Toledo cornerback Quinn Mitchell. They will both be at the draft. All right, so both of those players will be at the draft. So we already know what's going to happen in 2 weeks, right? On April 25th, 2 weeks from now. We already know what's going to happen in 12 days. Caleb Williams is going to get drafted number one. We'll see how he develops into the NFL with him being the number one draft pick. So Caleb Williams, great talented player. Do I like him? I mean, I think he's a great football player. I just wish he would stop, painting his nails. But like I said, we'll see how good he does and how much momentum he has. The Jets are making moves. I know that, the man from Seoul is nowhere to be found because he's sleepy, he's old, and he probably sitting there watching the Masters all day to the point where he just immediately fell asleep. The Jets re-signed safety Ashton Davis, the 2023 rounder. He makes plays on defense and special teams. All right, so we already know the Jets have one of the top-notch defenses in the NFL. We already know that. We already know the Jets have a great defense. We already know that the Jets have Aaron Rodgers. We already know that the Jets have top 5 defense in the NFL. One of the best. Quentin Williams, Jermaine Johnson, Sauce Gardner. I mean, there's some dogs. C.J. Mosley, part of that veteran experience. I'm not sure if he's back on that team, but just a part of that veteran experience. When it comes to this guy right here, I think this guy can contribute in so many ways. He was a 3rd-round draft pick out of California. He's been a backup on defense during his NFL career, but he's made plays in limited opportunities. He had 6 takeaways, 3 interceptions, 3 fumble recoveries. He only played 19% of New York snaps last year. He also is expected to be a starter, projected starter, which joins Tony Adams, Chuck Clark, who re-signed after they missed all of last season with a torn knee ligament, Jarek Bernard Converse at the safety spot for the Jets. So the Jets, they do what they normally do. The Jets reload on defense. Robert Saleh bringing in that 49ers defense. You got Jeff Ilbridge is the defensive coordinator for the Jets. Jets, they love defense. My only concern for the Jets is that damn offense. And I understand they got the Hall of Famer Aaron Rodgers, and I understand they signed some old linemen. But like I said, and like I told the man of soul, you have to can't rely on your defense. You rely on your defense for the past 3 years has not been good enough. And then all I hear from Jets fans says all we need is a quarterback. Well, you need a backup quarterback for Aaron Rodgers in case he gets hurt again. And you didn't have a good successor. It's all about having that good successor as a backup. And I understand Aaron Rodgers was hurt, but it's the NFL. You can't rely on Aaron Rodgers. You need a good backup. You need a decent backup. And to be honest, we can compare that to the Cleveland Browns. They had 4 quarterbacks, but I mean, I'm not saying they were great, but the backups was pretty good if Cleveland Browns can make the playoffs with 4 or 5 quarterbacks. And then the Jets, they have all the talent in the world and don't know how to use it. You got Garrett Wilson on the other side, right? Alan Lazard. They got a team. You got a team. But I just don't agree with the man with soul. This is a great signing. I'm not debating on it. We know they could sign defense. It's not surprising. I don't even want to talk about this any further. All I said for the Jets is that I said it last year, even before Aaron Rodgers got hurt. The Jets would be at best maybe 10-7. 10-7 probably at best, right? I mean, I'm going to reiterate on this again. The Jets are not going to make the AFC Championship game. I want y'all to click that and then send it to me and post it all over social media because I am going to bet $500,000, $500K, or dinner with Diddy. No Diddy, right? I'm betting that much money that the Jets are not going to make the AFC Championship game over the Ravens, over the Chiefs, not happening, over the Chargers. They're going to be upcoming. That's not going to happen, and definitely over Joe Burrow and the Bengals. I mean, the man from Soul had the audacity to sit here and say the Jets in the AFC Championship game when he forgot that Joe Burrow and the Bengals were in the Super Bowl 3 years ago. So yes, the Jets are great on defense, but I'm not trusting a team to go to the AFC Championship game, and they hadn't made the playoffs in like 14 years. Last time they made the playoffs, like I said, was with Mark Sanchez and Rex Ryan as the head coach. So yeah, I'm not hating on Aaron Rodgers. I'm just gonna keep it above with you. The man from Soul, he's an old man. He can believe all fantasy stuff that they're gonna make the AFC Championship game. You can go ahead and play that on Madden. You can play the franchise thing on Madden. You can hope they get to the AFC Championship game. But I'm talking about reality. This is why I predict the future when it comes to football. That just ain't gonna happen. As long as I live on this earth, the Jets making the AFC Championship game will never happen ever again unless you get another Joe Namath. Ladies and gentlemen, WNBA. Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese headline 15 players that are invited to the WNBA draft. Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese made headlines in the tournament. With Caitlin Clark being one of the best in college basketball. Women's basketball has changed, has elevated. Caitlin Clark has changed the game. And I had to give Caitlin Clark her props. This WNBA draft is going to be very, very interesting. Now, I'm going to be real with you. I don't watch the WNBA like that, but I do love me some women's basketball when it comes to fundamentals and post game. This was the best. Championship game, national championship game this year. This had more viewers than the men's. The South Carolina Iowa was great. I know Caitlin Clark hasn't won a championship, obviously. She regrets that, and she has the most points. But at the end of the day, she's going to make some history in the WNBA. So you got Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese. They're going to headline. The WNBA draft will be on Monday. I thought it was last Monday, but I was wrong. The South Carolina and Iowa game averaged 19 million viewers in a championship game. 19 million viewers. And the game was played on Sunday at a primetime game, right? Sunday primetime game at 3 o'clock. Not the men's game where you have the national championship game on a Monday and it's at 9:30. That's kind of late. This is not football where you start your game at 8:15, 8:30. You started the national championship game on Monday at 9 o'clock p.m. Right? So Angel Reese helped LSU win a national championship the year before. There's other players getting involved. You got Stanford star Cameron Brink was great this season. Camila Cardoso helped South Carolina get to the championship. South Carolina had 10 undefeated seasons in NCAA history. She's already the most outstanding player honors of the Final Four. The other people, this is going to be a great draft class. Aaliyah Edwards out of Tennessee. Nika Moore out of UConn. Now, I know we said this before the show. Me and Matt were talking. Lambo, Matt's World Sports. Nika Moore is a fine woman. She is a fine woman. I mean, Lord have mercy. Nika Moore is one fine woman. She's from Croatia. Man, she is. Lord, let me stop. But she is. I follow her on Instagram. I want her on this show. She is one fine woman. She just like she. I don't want to start controversy. She might be a better looking woman than Sarah Blake Cheek. That's all I can say. Sarah Blake Cheek is still a beautiful woman, but she has a man. But Nika Mule, if she's single, all she gotta do is hit the DMs of Total Pole Nation. You also have Elizabeth Kitley from Virginia Tech, all ACC player multiple years. You also have the girl from UCLA, Charisma Osborne of UCLA, Celeste Taylor, and J.C. Sheldon of Ohio State. You have Alyssa Pugh of Utah, Markeisha Davis of Mississippi, Deja Fair of Syracuse, and Nadia Puch of Australia. The Los Angeles Sparks hold the second and the fourth pick, with Chicago selecting third, Dallas is fifth, and Washington is sixth. In all three rounds, there are 36 picks total in the WNBA draft. Minnesota, Chicago, Dallas, Connecticut, New York, and Atlanta close out the first round. So with all that talent that I just mentioned, right? All that talent, that is a great draft class. That's a great WNBA draft class. You might want to really watch that, pay attention. We already know that Caitlin Clark is going to be the number one pick in the WNBA draft. It'll be between her, Angel Reese. It don't really matter what the order is. I mean, I wouldn't be mad if she was number two, but I think Caitlin Clark will be number one. But it's WNBA. Never say never. But the WNBA league is a league of 144 players, and there's only some of these teams that carry 11 players, or they carry 12. So, Caitlin Clark, wishing her but the best. Angel Reese, but I think there will never be another Caitlin Clark in WNBA in women's college basketball ever again. I don't think there'll be another Caitlin Clark, and I think it'll be better this year because you got Paige Buckners that's coming back as well. You still got Juju as well, so it's going to be some. There's going to be some great things that go along the lines of women's college basketball. There's some great things that's going on. Breaking news. Breaking news is that I want to talk about Kentucky. Kentucky is in targets of hiring or targeting Mark Pope as the head coach. Targeting. Now, this is not strategically official yet, but they're targeting. The deal is supposed to be finalized. So I know I said that I was not a big fan of Kentucky anymore without John Calipari. John Calipari being the second winningest coach in UK history of all time. I've already said it. Who are you gonna replace him with? And I think that Jay Wright agrees with me, a former Duke Hall of Famer, great NBA player. But do I like this hire? I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel about this. Uh, Mark Pope, right? Most top candidates have turned down Kentucky. Scott Drew is one of them. Dan Hurley's not going anywhere. I think Bruce Pearl probably is going to stay. Uh, Mark Pope is actually related to Kentucky, actually. So he was a 1996 graduate. He played 2 seasons at Kentucky. He won a national title. And then he coached at BYU. He has taken BYU to 2 NCAA tournaments in 5 years. And, he's gone 110 and 52 at BYU and was the head coach of Utah Valley before that. So he's 77, 56 in 4 campaigns. But that's a lot of high expectations. You're trying to replace John Calipari, who had 410 wins and 123 losses that included national title and 4 Final Four appearances. I know that Coach Calipari did not feel his presence known, the support that he has had. But if they hired this guy, he's related. He's a graduate. I mean, this is what they just do. I'm just not. I'm just not sure. I'm just not sure how this is gonna go. I mean, this was like their last. This is like their last stop when it comes to this hire. This is their last stop. Scott Drew declined interest. He did fly to Lexington, but he declined. Dan Hurley's not going anywhere. Billy Donovan is staying with the Bulls. Like I said earlier, you're not gonna go to the NBA from college. He was already in college a couple years ago, and then he left to go to OKC. So, they just don't have it. I think this makes me more mad. But they had to make a choice. Nate Oates, Jay Wright, Dan Hurley turned down the job. Dan Hurley won back-to-back national championships. He ain't going where Nate Oates is staying. Jay Wright is retired. You're not going to pull him out of retirement. He says that job is very stressful. Recruiting is very stressful. But Pope does not have an NCAA tournament win. BYU, they lost to I can't even pronounce it. Can't pronounce the team. Never mind. Can't even pronounce the team. But we can't compare Pope and Calipari. We just can't compare them. Just because Calipari has 11 combined NCAA tournaments at UMass, Memphis, and coached 2 Final Fours before taking the Kentucky job. Tubby Smith, I mean, you could have got Rick, also Rick Pitino took Providence to the Final Four and coached New York Knicks. Even Billy Giuseppe coached in 3 NCAA tournaments. Whether we hired this guy, Pope, he's going to have a lot of expectations. Kentucky wants to win. And I don't know, recruiting-wise, how you stay up at the top. That's going to be tough because all the Kentucky recruits are going to want to play for John Calipari. So if I do another recruiting video later on, Kentucky's going to go immediately down the rankings. They might be at the bottom. Instead of being number 1, number 2 in the recruiting class, they might be number 25. You better get a good coach that can recruit. I mean, he better recruit. I don't know. I mean, should I just be a bandwagon? Should I just become a UConn fan because I'm a big fan of Dan Hurley. I'm a big fan of Dan Hurley. This Kentucky stuff, I'm just very just very and I'm in my feelings right now. But it's just like no, I don't know. We'll see. You gotta hire somebody, but I don't know. I don't know what to really tell you. All right, next thing, make this a little shorter. Probably got about 15 more minutes of this show. Um, Next thing I want to talk about is the Raptors player and Jonte Porter could face a permanent ban from betting. A permanent ban from the WNBA, excuse me, the NBA. He could face a permanent ban from the NBA. Um, he's under investigation by the league um, over betting. Over the past several months, he could be banned if he's accused of it. But you're innocent until proven guilty. So the league is still investigating this. He was making prop bets that involved him uh, for games on January 26th and March 20th. In a story that was reported by ESPN, Porter prop bets from those dates will wind up being the biggest moneymakers for each of them. And then there's a documentary on Netflix you should check out on how the referees are betting as well. Tim Donahue in 2007 was you know been legalized. There's betting that has been legalized in states, but players are not allowed to bet on their own teams. We've seen that in the NFL. Stop gambling. Please stop gambling. I mean, you're going to risk your NBA career just because you want to gamble prop bets. You already know what's happening. So is the NBA scripted? What is it? I don't know. It's tough. It's a tough thing. It's tough and it's a hard pill to swallow. It just is. It's a hard pill to swallow, and whew, I don't know. He's gonna risk his NBA career so he can just bet. So I think he's gonna get banned, and if he gets banned, I don't feel bad for him. Final thing I want to talk about this the NBA playoffs. Right, Celtics number 1 seed, Milwaukee number 2. New York Knicks are number 3. Obviously, well, they're number 2 right now. With a tiebreak over Milwaukee, they'll be number 2. They didn't update these stats yet. Cleveland at 4, Orlando at 5, Indiana at 6, Philadelphia at 7, Miami at 8. Play-in tournament: Chicago Bulls, Atlanta Hawks. Those are going to be play-in tournament. The Miami Heat and 76ers. That's going to be the play-in. Western Conference: Denver Nuggets are number 1. OKC, Minnesota tied for number 2. 2 and 3 is both OKC and Minnesota, but they got the same record, so either way you can go 2 and 3. 4 seeds the Clippers, 5 is the Mavericks, 6 is the New Orleans Pelicans, number 7 is the Phoenix Suns, number 8 is Sacramento Kings. 9 and 10, the Golden State Warriors and the Los Angeles Lakers will have to be fighting for that playoff spot. There's already a playoff matchup: the Clippers versus the Dallas Mavericks. That's going to be the playoffs in the Western Conference. We'll find out the other playoff stuff later, but the Clippers and the Dallas Mavericks will be playing each other in the playoffs. They will be playing each other, and there is some history involved with that. I don't know who's going to win the series. You got Kyrie, you got Luka, you got that big guy, but the Clippers, they have everybody. They have Paul George, Russell Westbrook, Kawhi Leonard, Terrence Mann. I mean, if I'm gonna pick between the Clippers and the Mavericks in the playoff series, give me the Dallas Mavericks in 6 games. It always comes down to Kawhi Leonard's health. Last year, they weren't nowhere to be found due to injury. It's going to come down to Kawhi Leonard. It comes down to the health of the Clippers. The Clippers, every time they have that talent, they just don't win it. And I never will be sold on the Clippers. So when that matchup happens, give me the Dallas Mavericks. Eastern Conference, I don't think there's a matchup just yet because you got any of these teams can get any seed for the Eastern Conference. The Celtics have 62 wins. Milwaukee Bucks have 49. New York Knicks have 48. Cleveland has 47. Orlando, Indiana have 46 wins. Philadelphia, Miami have 45 and 44 wins. So between the second seed and the eighth seed, they're all like literally behind like one game of each other. That's how it is in the Eastern Conference. The Celtics already have number one seed plus home court advantage. I mean, the Celtics are going to the finals. We will see the Boston Celtics versus the Denver Nuggets in the NBA Finals. That is what we will see. The Boston Celtics versus the Denver Nuggets. I call it because I predict the future of the NBA as well. This is it for Totem Pole Sports. Do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. You get your merch like this jacket at TotemPoleNation.com. We are sponsored by St. Pete Rejuvenate. Thank you, Totem Pole Nation. Thank you for all the fans. We support you. Thank you for watching it. Everybody that watched it tonight, me solo. I know I did a lot of talking and I drank a bottle of water, but I want to thank y'all for tuning in and listening to me, the GOAT of Totem Pole, the man for Totem Pole for almost 40 minutes, almost running out of breath. But thank you, Totem Pole Nation. Y'all have a great night. We will be back tomorrow at 10 o'clock. And like I said, football season for me as a coach, because I coach the youth, is back. Game day is tomorrow. I'm glad to wake up for another day, and I'm glad to make content because Totem Pole Nation is our home, and this is what I do for a living. I love to coach the youth. Y'all have a great day. Please take care.